Welcome everybody. Today's video I want to talk about a recent music video that I had the pleasure of working on for my friends in the band Cold Moon. Now, hopefully this video will kind of shed some knowledge and share the process from pre-production all the way to post and how we were able to accomplish this video with a pretty small budget, a pretty small crew, and the drive to make something really awesome. So if you're interested in hearing how that process went, make sure to stick around and I'll be sharing that with you shortly. So back in February of 2021, a good friend of mine hit me up and asked if I'd be interested in working on a music video for his band's upcoming album. The release date for the video and the single were about a month away, so we had a pretty rigid timeline. I mean, we had about, 2 weeks to shoot, edit, and finalize the video before it had to go up for publication. So we knew we had a small budget, a small crew, and we'd also have a pretty short timeline. So the pre-production process went pretty smooth for this project. Because the guys lived a couple of hours away from me, we just hopped on a couple of Zoom calls to talk about specifics, concepts, ideas for the video and how we could refine them, and then trying to lock in things like location, the character, and all that stuff. We had a general idea of what we wanted to do for the video, but I think a lot of it was kind of abstract and were more just shot ideas. So we needed to take those shot ideas and figure out how we could turn it into an actual story or a concept that was cohesive. So from there, the band and I created a shot list and a storyboard, which I was able to bring into Premiere and lay out frame by frame to get an idea of how the pacing and the editing would play out. If you do enough planning and pre-production at the beginning there, you'll really save a lot of time in post. So after that, the only things that we really needed to figure out were location and talent. And we were able to find a good location pretty easily because one of the members of the band had a house that we could film at. And in terms of the actor or talent, that was a little trickier, so we had to make a couple of phone calls. We called in a favor from a good friend who was willing to do it for free, which absolutely helped with our budget. So the total budget for this project was $1,700. I took $1,000 myself for producing, directing, DPing, and editing, and we had about $250 plus gas to a production assistant, which was a good friend of mine. He really helped with lugging the gear and the lights around, as well as taking some BTS photos. We had $200 dedicated to just a Snorri cam rental, which is the rig that we use to attach the camera to our main character. And then the last thing was about $300 went to a lighting kit rental, which kind of covered the cost for all the lights I needed for the shoot. So in terms of camera, we used my Canon C300 Mark II as the A camera, which worked out really, really well, and I'm really happy with how the image quality turned out. And for the B camera, we used my Sony a7 III, and that was mostly because on the Snorri cam, we needed a much lighter camera, because obviously this guy's running around with it attached to his chest. And then I also used it for a couple of shots where it was a top-down rotating angle. So the actual production process for this was super amazing. I mean, we had one day to knock out everything, all the shots that we needed for this video, and we had to drive 2 hours just to get to the location. So we left about 7, got there, unloaded everything, said our hellos, and immediately jumped into the car to get to our first location, which was at a liquor store. We nailed our first shot, did a couple of takes, and then went back to the house where we'd be spending the rest of the day. I think it's really important to schedule wisely. I don't think this video would have been possible to do in one day if we had a bunch of locations. So I think being realistic and over planning and over scheduling, so giving yourself more time than you think you might need, is super important. And if you take a look at the schedule here, you can kind of see what we were working with. So for the first shot, we had to set up the Dana Dolly in the living room for our opening kind of shot. And for this, I just set up a 6x6 Matthews diffusion cloth on a C-stand, blasted my Godox VL200 as well as one of those Cine Flex Light LED lights. I used both of those to kind of get a little extra push. And then I used a couple of my Nanolite Pavo tubes to just get a little bit of kicker on the right side of our subjects as they were sitting on the couch. So for a bulk of this video, we knew we were going to use a Snorri cam rig. And for those of you who don't know what a Snorri cam is essentially a rig that you attach to your subject via a vest or a belt, and has a big metal arm that comes out where you attach your camera, and it kind of gives you this disorienting, like you're on drugs or drunk sort of effect. And the reason that we chose this is because we were kind of trying to tell two perspectives throughout this music video. The first perspective is kind of the outside looking in, kind of seeing what this character is actually doing in real life, sort of the reality, as you will. And then the Snorri cam angle is kind of representing what this character is actually feeling inside once he's drinking and on drugs. He's really happy and giddy, and so separating these two angles, kind of was a good way to visually separate what was actually happening, and kind of like an easy way to like showcase those different realities that this character was facing. Overall, this video was super fun to work on. All of these guys were really amazing to work with. The guys in the band treated us to good food and good beer while we were there. We just, all around, it felt like we were hanging out with our friends and we were creating something really cool. And I think part of that lets your inner creativity kind of flow, because nobody's really afraid to suggest things or say, hey, maybe this might be a cool idea. If we had the time to do it, we were going to try it, and if it worked, it worked. And if it didn't work, you know, in the editing, then it wouldn't work. But overall, I felt like everybody there had a really good grasp on what we were trying to accomplish, and so we all stayed really focused and spearheaded through the entire day. So after wrapping, we had about a week to kind of edit and color the entire video, as well as get feedback and, you know, revisions and all that stuff. I think they had a couple of notes, and it was like 2 revisions, I think, until we got to our final cut. So we were able to knock it out in like 3 or 4 days, which is awesome because we had a week to do it. Yeah, everybody loved the video. I was super happy with it. And eventually it got premiered on Brooklyn Vegan and was up on YouTube. And I don't know, I'm really happy. These are the kinds of videos that I started making when I first started with filmmaking, but it's like so cool to look at what I'm creating now and see how much I've gained in knowledge and technical skill and all that. And a huge part of it is a lot of what I've learned on YouTube and working with mentors and stuff like that. Anyways, I hope you found this video interesting or at least entertaining to watch. If you have any other questions about how I was able to pull off this video, or about the video itself technically or camera-wise, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I'll make sure to reach out and get back to you. So with that, I guess I will see you on the next one. Peace.